Hey friends, it's Corey from Hey Let's Make Stuff. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a new product from Siser. They have a new puff glitter. If you haven't used puff before, this will give you a good overview about how this particular brand works. Puff can be a little bit tricky, so I will have some tips and tricks in this video for getting it right. For this project, I'm going to be making a simple onesie here for the upcoming holidays, and I do have a free file for you for that. To find this free file in my craft library, go to heyletsmakestuff.com/library. There, if you don't already have it, you can request the password. The number for this file is C519, so C519, that's Cricut 519, and you can find it in the craft library in one of two ways. The first way is to just scroll down and find C519. The other way is to use the keyboard shortcut for searching on your computer. If you have a Mac, you're going to go to Command F, and if you have a PC, you'll use Control F, and you can search for C519. Once you find that file, you'll have three links. The first link will be the actual download for this file, so you'll click that link and it will download the zip to your hard drive. The second link is the blog post for this video, and the third link is this video if you need to come back and refer to it. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to need to make this project. So for this project, we are going to be sort of layering Puff HTV. Now you can't do that if you're going to do more than one press, so we are going to look at a method that allows us to sort of place all of our pieces and do it in one press. So I have three colors of this Puff HTV. I have a really soft Bella Canvas onesie here. I have a green mat. I have a piece of parchment paper because you are going to need to double press this and you're going to need a protective sheet. Parchment paper is my favorite. I also have a weeding hook. I do have my Cricut Maker 4 over here, but you can use whatever Cricut you have. You can see here I've got my big heat press. You can do this with a handheld press. You cannot do it with an iron, but I just happen to have this out because I'm working on another project using this big heat press. So we're going to use the big guy today. And then I also have the instructions. I did test this project with another color of this Puff HTV, and their instructions didn't quite work for me. And I want to talk a little bit about that because this might be one of those materials that you're going to have to test a little bit. In the overhead camera, let's take a look at this glitter a little bit more closely. So you can see here, this is sort of the burgundy color, and it does have sort of a stripe going to it. So that's just something to think about. I see it in all of them, but in the darker colors, I can definitely see, but it does have kind of this rainbow glitter. It's very hard to tell, I think, in the overhead camera, but it is really pretty. So I have this sort of burgundy color, and then I have this sour apple sort of lime green color, and of course, because it's me, we have pink. Now grab that free file and let's hop into Cricut Design Space and set up everything we're going to need to cut. If you're working with Puff, you do want to choose a design that has a lot of area. And I mean this, that it has big pieces. So if I go over here to images and we check out what might be available here, let's see, we have this cute ho 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 design, but it has very thin strokes here. And because of that, it would work, but it just doesn't have the same puffiness and that sort of 3D effect as something like the file that I've created here that has quite a bit of flat area with it. So just keep that in mind when you are choosing your designs to make with any type of puff. So I have my design here. I'm going to select it and change the size to fit on my onesie. Now, because this one is sort of taller than it is wide, we're going to kind of go by that taller dimension, and I'm going to make it 6 inches. I think this will be really cute on the front of the onesie. If you're using different colors for your materials, you can go over here to the layers panel and, change each individual layer to the color that you're using if you'd like. But other than that, we are ready to make it. So I'm going to click Make. I'm going to choose On Matte. And now you can see that I have all 3 layers here. I'm going to start by mirroring all 3 layers. And then I'm going to go back to that first layer because that's the one I want to cut first. And I'm going to click Continue. Now Cricut Design Space is going to connect to my Cricut Maker 4. Now the application settings from Siser say to use a glitter mesh setting. So if you go to Browse All Materials, you'll see here that we have a glitter mesh. This, however, didn't work for me. We can close this, and I'm just going to choose medium cardstock. This is a pretty thick material, and this did not cut all the way through the carrier sheet for me, but it did cut all the way through the iron-on. So this worked for me. You can try the glitter mesh, you can try this medium cardstock setting, you may need to play around with it. This is one of those places where you may be like, oh, it didn't quite cut all the way through. You'll want to do some test cuts. Now we can go ahead and prepare our mats to cut our project. Cricut Design Space has us starting with the green layer, so we're actually gonna put this color side down and this white side up. And that is because when you're working with iron-on vinyl, 99% of the time you're going to want to put the shiny side down. Now there are exceptions to this rule. they're very small. So generally, shiny side down if you're working with any type of iron-on. I will go ahead and get it here on my mat. And I just noticed the cut that they sent me is not particularly straight, but we're just cutting right here, so that'll be fine. Now I can put this in my Cricut and I can cut it. I'm gonna do the same exact thing for all 3 layers in this project. I have all 3 of my pieces. In retrospect, maybe I should have cut these little stars separately and kind of placed them separately, since we are probably gonna have to cut them apart. Live and learn. Just something you might want to think about. You can sort of use contour. I have a video on this. Use contour to sort of separate all the pieces. So to weed this, it's just like weeding any other HTV. I have my weeding hook and I'm going to pull up on one side here. Just grab a little bit in the corner here and pull up. This weeds pretty well, but you do want to be careful because you can see here that it also pulls up off the carrier sheet pretty easily. So as you're going, you just want to make sure that you aren't pulling up any pieces that you want to keep, right? So here we go. Press that there. This happens sometimes with different materials. Here. One here. So you can really start to see that shimmer now that I have taken off the carrier sheet. It really does have this fun rainbow glittery shine to it. Now we can do our 2 other pieces. Again, we're just peeling this up, being really careful that we aren't losing any of our letters. Like that. Again, you can kind of see the shimmer here. We want to make sure we get the insides of our letters as well. So we have the O's and the ho-ho. And then we have our final piece here. I'll peel that up. You can really feel the thickness in this compared to other HTV. It definitely is thicker than other materials, but it's such a cool effect that you're not going to be like, oh, you can feel it on your shirt, because the whole point is that you can feel it on your shirt. Now we have all 3 of our pieces, but the problem is we can't really layer them like this because then we're putting it plastic on plastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these pieces apart and basically cut as close to the edge as I can, and we're going to place everything onto our design together so we can press it at one time. Normally I would press this one and then this one and then this one and it would all work, but you can't double press Puff. So we need to make sure that we are only pressing it once, which means I'm going to go ahead and cut around a lot of these letters. Basically, any place the letters are going to kind of get close to each other, I'm going to cut that apart so that then we can layer our project and press it all in one go. Now for this sheet, you can see that it's going to go here. I'm basically just going to cut all these stars and we're going to place them by hand. I think that's going to be the easiest way. So again, you can not cut these in such a big sheet if you don't want. But let's go ahead and kind of place these about where they need to go. I may need to do a little bit more trimming. So let me just cut these out and then we can go from there. I went ahead and pulled up my design so I could see kind of where all of my pieces go. And now I can pick up each individual piece and figure out if I need to trim a little bit more. So for example, this star here needs to nest in between these 2 letters a little bit. So I'm just going to cut just a little bit here. Like that. And obviously I don't think I'm straight here, so let's go there for now and we'll fix it as we go. And then that little guy can go there. Now notice in this design, these are not designed to actually touch each other. I designed them to have some space so that you would have a little bit of give in between the letters here. So we'll get that kind of lined up. And then we can add our star here. That, oh, this is definitely not crooked or not straight on my thing. I'm gonna have to fix this here in just a second, which I will do. You don't notice these things until you kind of look at it from above and you're like, whoa, I didn't do that right. There we go. Oops, lost my little guy there. Okay, so let's try this again. So this is gonna go here, and then I can trim off the little edges here of our carrier sheet so we can nestle that right up in there. So This looks good, except, you know, obviously it's not straight, it's crooked. I mean, maybe that's actually cute, but let's go ahead and pull everything off and straighten it out. Actually, before we do that, we need to pre-press this because it is wrinkled. So let's go ahead, pre-press it. And I have my heat press set right now for 310 for 15 seconds. We have a couple presses that we're gonna do, but 310 is going to be our temperature. I want to pre-press this, one, to get rid of all of these wrinkles, and two, because if this has any moisture in it, it can affect how well this sticks. So let's go ahead and pre-press this for 10 to 15 seconds at 310 degrees. Okay, I think I'm finally happy. I have replaced these things a lot of times to try and get this straight, but it's just my little perfectionist tendency, so I really wanted to make sure that it was going to look good once it was pressed. Now, before we press it, I want you to take a look, and I want to make sure that nothing is overlapping, because again, you don't want any of your Puff HTV to be on top of another carrier sheet. You want to make sure that there is space in between each of them so that you're not pressing on top of the carrier sheet, and that way we're going to have a really great project when we're done. Now we are ready to press. I have my heat press set for 310 degrees Fahrenheit, and I have the pressure set at medium. You do not need a super heavy pressure, but you do need consistent, you know, decent weight on top of your project to get that puff to activate. The first press is very short. It's only like 2 to 3 seconds. So we're gonna press for 2 to 3 seconds. I'm gonna pull it off here. You can peel it hot or cold. So you know, you don't have to like have an emergency and like pull everything off. So I'm gonna press it, we're gonna pull it off, we're gonna pull off all of our carrier sheets. Then I'm gonna grab my butcher paper and I'm gonna place it on top, and I'm going to press it again for 10 to 15 seconds. I'm probably gonna give it a little bit on the like 15-second end of it, and that is gonna activate that puff so that we have our puff project. That's it. And you can kind of see already that it's warping and kind of pulling away from the material here. So we can go ahead and start to remove our little pieces here. And it's okay if it doesn't feel like it's stuck down perfectly well. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We can peel this up. Like, I can see that it's not sticking perfectly around the edges, and that's totally fine. This is just to get it on top of the material here. And again, we have a lot of little pieces now. Now you're probably looking at this going, that doesn't look that great. It's okay, it'll look really cool here in just a second. So you can see here that it is already kind of giving a 3D look, but now we need it to puff. So we'll go ahead and press it at 310 degrees, medium pressure with a cover sheet for 10 to 15 seconds, and that should activate that puff, and we'll have our final project. Oh my God, it's so cute. This turned out so puffy. Holy moly, I love it. All right, I'm gonna come in here with my phone camera just so you can kind of see just how puffy this is. It like completely puffed up. It's so cute. I love how this turned out. Oh, I love it. This is gonna make the cutest gift for my husband's cousin who just had a little girl for the holidays. Oh, I love it so much. So this puff really is, it does have like a, you know, it definitely sits off the fabric. It is a very fun, and I think you're going to love this material. If you'd like to try out this Siser Glitter Puff, I have left a link down in the description below. If you are struggling with using this product, please let me know in the comments and I'll help troubleshoot. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, please give it a like. Follow my channel for more crafty content. I'll see you next time.